Good afternoon, everyone. I'm KingBlackToof, and welcome. We got our roadmap. This is Friday the 13th, Holy Roadmap Day. All blessed to that roadmap. And, you know, it's definitely here. Now, the primary thing that came out of the roadmap was they're working on a homecoming project. This is going to take 6 months. We got the icon here, the logo, and I think it's a very important aspect of it because it represents Gwent at the minute, where we've got a castle. And it's crumbling a little bit there, which is a little nice representation there. But in all seriousness, I want to go over the points of the roadmap and what we expect to see to give you just clarification and talk about some of the things. Now, the roadmap is something that we really wanted, and to be honest, it's very disappointing for a lot of people. I think it's got some positives, but you know, it's difficult to be that positive about the roadmap because there's a lot of negatives on it. But I think it took a lot of guts from CD Projekt Red to post this because they know it's not going to make us very happy, and also it kind of just ends up being that they're redesigning Gwent entirely, which is kind of a big thing to do. It means that, you know, the amount of money, yeah, I mean, they know it's going to ruin their fan base, and they still are allowed to put it out and still able to do it. And even the CEO wrote an open letter, so it's pretty indicative of the company as a whole is allowed to do this type of thing rather than just pushing forward and pushing content to try and keep us satisfied. They're not happy with how it's going, so they're trying to redesign it entirely, which I think is very commendable. But let's go on to the points of the particular roadmap and just kind of highlight them for you. So I'm actually going to switch to Reddit because while that thing, if you scour through it, does give you ideas, I think this is a great list here, which is a lot more concise. So they're working on the Gwent Homecoming project. It's going to take 6 months to complete. Okay, so after that 6 months, they're releasing Gwent. It's coming out of beta, and Thronebreaker is being released. Okay, that's what Gwent Homecoming is all about. Redesigning Gwent entirely. I'll go over the pillars of what they're planning to redesign later. But within that 6 months, what are we going to get? Basically, we're getting 2 updates. The first one is in April. I think it's April 17th. That's when the keg, premium keg weekend is. And I think that's when these are coming in. We're getting the premium artworks for all the missing cards. It's implied all of them anyway. Shoop tokens, Ozrel. There's quite a few others as well. We should be getting those premium cards. And we're also getting board skins for each faction. So we saw a hint of a Skellige board skin in the studio tour. So the April update is very much a visual one with premium cards, faction skins, and stuff like that for board, which is nice, but you know. And then we've got the May update. Now this is a balance update, and this is going to change some balance things. Now we don't quite know much else about it, which is fine because they're still working on it, but War Dancer was named and Create was named. We're not getting any new cards. This was officially reported by Refal later. So no new cards for the entirety of the 6 months. Just small balance changes to some cards like War Dancer and Create. And I reckon Create is about taking it out of Ranked and Pro Ladder and just relegating some of them to Arena and Casual, which is mentioned down below. So I don't necessarily think the Create is being changed, personally. I think it's just what they said they were going to do about removing it from Ranked. Things like Slave Drivers, things like Elven Scouts, just getting those out and putting them into Casual and Arena. I'm hoping like Trish Telekinesis and some good ones are still going to stay. So this balance update is a huge deal because we've had 4 months of the same meta at the minute since the winter update. And, you know, we've had 2 months until the May update arrives. So we've had 6 months of the same meta. And this is either going to change it or it's going to not. It's going to do a good job or a bad job. Now, if it does a bad job, that means we're going to have 10 months of the same meta because it doesn't change enough. We don't know if they're going to do a good job. They've cited War Dancer and Create, and these are things that, yeah, are true. But they could easily overlook things like Dunbanner, Cavalry, which means Henselt is going to stay where he is and he's going to be really, really good. They could overlook Ointment, Alchemy or something, and that could remain where it is. So it's difficult to say if this is going to make a big difference. Now, I think it will make a difference if they like change Create with Slave Drive and Elven Scouts, and you know. But I don't imagine a huge sweeping change. I think the War Dancer, you can't really change that tweak its value and still have it completely change. It'll still do the same thing, which is carryover that you can't do anything about. So War Dancer would have to change completely, a new ability, but it's hard to say whether this is going to keep people. I don't think it's going to keep many people interested. They'll come back and check to see what's happened, but it does mean that after this update, we've got another 4 months before we're going to get anything. No new cards at all. Okay, so after the 6 months are up, okay, mid-October, that's very disheartening, actually putting a month on it. I didn't really realise that. That's really disheartening. So full release Thronebreaker. All cards will be millable for full value then. A lot of people are thinking there's going to be a wipe. I don't really think that's the case. I think if they're doing some drastic changes, which they are, as we've seen, we'll see later, it's just going to mean that a lot of cards are going to change, so they're just going to, just be safe and full millable value for everything, probably. I don't know. Design focus, right. Game depths, faction identity, and row identity is what they're bringing back. They're trying to bring back with this Homebreaker. So, preferred rows for some cards, they said. And they also said the front and back rows are going to have benefits for when you place cards on those rows. Now, this was slightly strange, that just the front and back, but later on they said they're going to overhaul Gwent quite dramatically, and they stated it was because card art is quite small on the board, and they were trying to look at that, and one idea they had was cutting out one of the rows, the siege row, just have it melee and ranged, so cards are bigger on the board, premiums show off more, and that would kind of make sense with the front and back row because there's only 2 rows now. This has absolutely huge implications, and the fact that it's only just a small thing there is, I mean, that's fine, but it has absolutely huge implications. If it's just 2 rows, it means the whole game has to completely change, because it means things like Lacerate, things like Doppelfahner Trapper that do whole row damage is going to be incredibly powerful. Weather's going to be sort of easier to fill up the board, but also easier to remove. Silver Spires are going to be less effective because the bronze people will probably do a better job at just getting rid of one row. Stacking up on rows is going to be inevitable, most likely. Trying to avoid Geralt Igni is not going to happen. We've also got row limit issues because 9 units on a row, I think it's a bit easy to fill up. We are going to lose things like Elven Scouts, Slave Drivers, and stuff like that, so hopefully it won't be as bad, but they would have to increase the cap on row limit, and Swarm will be dead if they don't do that. So the whole game has to be overhauled if you remove a row. And it's quite a scary thing to do. It's definitely a scary aspect of the game there. Like, it could work really well. I think it's easy to do a mock-up, and I'll try and overlay that on screen right now. But, if there was just 2 rows, the cards would be bigger, but they'd have to really change the game. Now, one thing they did say is that they're going to be changing the UI, the way the UI looks. So this isn't a great representation, but it's a good representation for how big the cards would be, for an example anyway. Other things they've looked at are, focus on skill and player agency. We've seen the removal of Create, or the relegation of Create to casual and arena, but they also specified a coin flip fix. Now, they didn't specify what it was, but we already have heard about an idea of initiative to leader cards, which would dictate who goes first in coin. It's a really difficult issue, but this is something that we can hopefully expect after 6 months. Aesthetics are going to be changed, so darker, edgier, closer to original Witcher. New menus, new shops. Shoop is still going to be there. Consistent UIs and UX across the game. So they're moving away from this comic sort of cartoony style and go back to more darker UI, which is going to be quite, I think that's actually quite a really big dramatic change, because UI is hard to do. So that's something which is kind of exciting actually, but yeah, we have to wait till the end of 6 months before that. We've got player progression, they said. So revision to ranked mode, not entirely sure what that is, they didn't specify, but it could just simply be the relegation of Create to casual and arena, remove that, But they also said they're going to do a proper tutorial for beginners, implemented to the game, which is needed. New level system, we've been asking for that for a while. We don't know what it is exactly, but it could very well be the most commonly asked for thing, which is like some sort of paragon system. Is that the right word? Where you get to 100, you go back down to level 1 again, but you get some benefit. Achievements, we've been asking for that for a while as well. It's a nice way of incentivizing us to play. And also new reward system for levels, achievements and ranked, which is nice. Now, some people are worried that this is going to be a negative because the game's already quite generous and it can really, feasibly only go backwards, you know, go down. But it does sound like these are things we've been asking for. So, you know, you can't really complain about that. And that's really it. To be honest. Now, so the greatest thing is that these are the things they're working on in the 6 months. It's quite extensive, but a lot of people are going to focus on the fact that in this 6 months we're not going to get anything. It's going to be premiums in April and then a small balance change in May, which could make an impact. You know, alchemy could get worse because slave drivers are removed. Hensa could get worse because winch is removed. We could see Cleaver change completely. Or his ability go to a non-dwarf. We could see War Dancer change, so, and Dunbanner as well. But so this balance update is quite important, really important in fact, to keep people playing, see whether it gives us enough of a revitalization. But I guess the question is, it's very evident that Gwent is losing player base with streamers like Merchant, Mogwai, you know, everyone lessening their streaming of the game. It's hard to keep playing for so long, and this is not going to help. Like I said at the very beginning, it's very brave of CD Projekt Red to do this because they know it's not going to be what people want. And if people were on the fence about quitting, this is going to push them to quit for 6 months. And they may come back during the May and just see what's there, but it's probably not going to be as much of an impact as people wanted. So with games like Artifact as well, and games like Magic the Gathering Arena and Elder Scrolls Legends, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a really tough time. Now, personally, I have to do a bit of soul searching myself because, well, as a content creator for Gwent, I am a streamer of Gwent. I like Gwent. The issue is that even for a while now, for several months, my viewers don't really want to watch Gwent anymore. It's been difficult for me to play Gwent for, you know, many hours on a row. Normally I've been switching to different games, but this is going to push them to not even want to watch it more. And as a streamer of Gwent, I'm not as fortunate as Merchant or Mogwai or Swim or JJ or whatever, where if I move away from Gwent, I'm going to keep many viewers. Outside of Gwent, my viewership is rubbish, and you know, it's difficult because I need to figure out what I want to do, which is going to be hard for me. This roadmap has killed a lot of viewership for Gwent. It's definitely going to, like I said, there's a lot of people that are on the fence, and a lot of people are going to move now, and I need to figure out what I need to do. I could just like relegate myself to doing tutorials and setting up for when it does come back. But the issue is, after that 6 months is up, I know all my stuff is going to be obsolete. Cards are going to get massively changed. They may not even be a third row anymore. Like just now, we did get stated that they weren't going to do a massive overhaul again, but obviously they didn't plan for this, and this is something that's happening. So I don't know. It doesn't seem worth doing tutorials on the game if it's going to change so dramatically in 6 months. So it's very difficult for me to decide what to do now. That's it, really. I just need to do a big soul search here. Thank you for watching. You know, I hope you enjoyed. There's a glorious roadmap that everyone's hyping up. Definitely not what people expected. Thank you for watching.